my womb, because God is sovereign. God is able. He breaks the bow of the most powerful army, and He exalts the weakest among the nations. God is sovereign. It's one of the most beautiful praises to the sovereignty of God in all of Scripture. She says, this is the God I serve, the God who can do anything. It's a beautiful praise. And that's the type of woman she was. You imagine how beautiful that came from her lips in the original tongue, as she sang before the Lord those words of the sovereignty of God. And in that, her righteousness is put on display. Her godliness, rather, is put on display. She has a relationship with her husband built on faith, love, and devotion. She has a relationship with her God built on prayer, promise, and praise. Prayer, commitment, and praise. And both of these, she's an example of godliness to us. Finally, we see the last relationship that shows forth her godliness, and that was the relationship with her child. When Samuel was born, Hannah knew her prayers had been answered. In fact, his very name speaks of this. The name Samuel means heard by God. She believed God heard her cry and gave her the child based upon that. So now, as a mother, for the first time, she begins her dedication to the gifts from God, to this gift that God has given her. This child is a gift. I'm going to be dedicated to this gift. So she begins with her dedication to the welfare of the child. Look at verse 21. It says, the man Elkanah and his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and go pay his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, as soon as the child is weaned, I will go with him, so that he may appear in the presence of the Lord and dwell there forever. How long does it take to wean a child? It's not just a couple of days or even a year. It takes a couple of years to wean a child. But she says, I'm not going anywhere until this child is ready to go. I'm not going to take him up, pick him up, take him on what probably would have been a multiple week journey by foot or by animal across this land with this baby. I'm going to dedicate myself for the next couple of years to this child, lifting him up, rearing him up, making sure that he's ready so that when I finally do take him to the house of the Lord, that's where he will stay. Do you realize that's what she did? You realize after she took him to the place, she left him there? Why? Because that was the promise that she made. Now all of you who are mothers are going, no, no, no. Could you imagine your 3-year-old, 4-year-old maybe, child, taking that child and leaving him in the hands there at the temple and dedicating him to God and the great fear and timidity? But she was dedicated to that. She was dedicated not only to the welfare of her child, she wouldn't take him right away, but she was also dedicated to the godliness of her child. Dedicated to the godliness of her child. Verse 24, it says, and when she had weaned him, she took him up with her along with a 3-year-old bull and an ephah of flour and a skin of wine, and she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh, and the child was young. Then they slaughtered the bull and they brought the child to Eli. And she said, O Lord, my Lord, this is as I live, my Lord. I am the woman who was standing here in your presence praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord granted me my petition, and I made to him. Therefore I have lent him to the Lord. I don't like that word lent. It's one place where I think the ESV is a poor translation. The word is dedicated. The word is given over to. It's not lent. Lent has the idea of getting him back. No, it's the idea of dedication. The idea is, I have given him, dedicated him to the Lord. She is dedicated to the godliness of the child. Let me tell you something, folks. I look out at our land today, and I see a lot of parents who are dedicated to the education of their children. Man, they spend all kinds of money sending them to the best schools, saving up for the best colleges, saving up to make sure they get to go to the best whatever. They're dedicated to the education of their children. They're dedicated to the happiness of their children. Man, they'll give them iPods and this pods and that pods and whatever, and Mario Karts and whatever it takes to put a smile on their face. But how many are dedicated to the godliness of their children? She was dedicated to the godliness of her child. And she was dedicated to the continuing care of her child. My favorite part of the story, we didn't read it yet, My favorite part of the story is when it shows in chapter 2. Look at verse 18 in chapter 2. It says, Samuel was ministering before the Lord, a boy clothed with a linen ephod, and his mother used to make for him a little robe and take it to him each year when she went up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. So that's what she did. She weaned the child. She took the child. She gave him to service to the Lord, but she didn't forget that child. She would spend that time at home every year, and she'd make him an outfit that was for him. It was made for him to use in service, and she would bring that every year. She'd come, and you can imagine the excitement of her heart as every year she'd prepare to go worship the Lord, and to see this gift that God had given her, to see this one who would be that person, that priest that God would lift up. She never gave up on her task as a mother. She never gave up on her duty as a mother. She never gave up on that responsibility of continually caring for her child. And that's just another sign of the godly behavior that we see displayed in her. And you know, God didn't stop at Samuel with her. If you look at chapter 2, verse 21, it says, Indeed, the Lord visited Hannah, and she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters, and the young man Samuel grew in the presence of the Lord. So ultimately, she had 6 kids. She couldn't have the first one. God held that womb, but when God opened the womb, He left it open. And now here she is, blessed with a multitude of children. In this, her promised son, Samuel, is a blessing, and he will go on to be a blessing and go on to be one of the greatest leaders Israel would ever know. And she's the blessed mother who not only gets to see that son become that leader, but also gets to see a multitude of children come from her womb. Blessed by God was she, because she found her joy in Him. To be a godly woman depends so much on relationships. The relationship with the husband, the relationship with the children, and the relationship with God are all together where a woman's godliness will shine forth the strongest. Hannah's godliness shone in all 3 of these areas, which is why God honored her as He did, and why we say she is a portrait of a godly mother worthy of our attention and worthy of our study. And this lesson inspires in us questions that we ought to be asking ourselves this Mother's Day. There are some questions that I want to leave you with as a congregation to put into your heart and to be considering as you go about your day celebrating Mother's Day together. If you are a woman who is a mother, are you a godly mother? Are you a woman strongly devoted to the things of God? If you are a woman who is going to be a mother, are you preparing now to live godly before your children? If you're a woman who is older, are you helping to prepare the younger generations of mothers to fulfill their role in godliness? If you are a man who is married, are you creating an environment in your home in which your wife's godliness is encouraged and lifted up? If you are a man, are you seeking to raise, are you raising your sons to seek out godly women and your daughters to be godly women? Are you displaying to your daughters what is the right way to treat your wife? If you're a child, no matter what age, we're all somebody's children. Are you honoring your mother today? Are you thankful that though God gave her to you, though she is not perfect, she is the mother that God gave to you? Are you thankful that God gave you a godly mother? And if you do not have a godly mother, are you praying for her and asking God's Spirit to change her heart? We all have important things to consider from this message. So many things that if we aren't doing, if we aren't trying, if we aren't praying, we ought to be. Lord, help us to not just honor our mothers with our lips this one day a year, but rather to encourage their godliness in all we do, knowing that godly mothers can be the greatest encouragement to godliness of the next generation and on after that. With these questions in our mind and our heart, let us bow our heads and go to the Lord in prayer.